Hello, students. Welcome back to our session. In today's class, we're going to be reviewing about the present perfect, and we're also going to be comparing the present perfect simple with the present perfect continuous. Remember that we have studied before the present perfect, but in case you don't remember, let's let's say that basically the present perfect indicates an action that started in the past but continues up to the present or affect the present in some way. So basically we use it to describe experiences or actions that started in the past but that those events are still relevant in the present. So basically it's an activity that started in the past but it's relevant in the present or it's affecting the present. Most of the time we use it to talk about experiences, right? So for example, we have visited Canada 2 times. She has never eaten tlayudas. And I've seen that film before, right? All of those three examples refer to experiences. They occurred in the past, but now that I'm talking about them, they are relevant in the present. The next three examples refer basically to activities that started in the past, but they continued up and probably they are occurring now in the present. So, for example, Sam has studied English for 2 years. I've played the guitar since I was a teenager, and I have worked here since I graduated school. Now, remember that when we use the present perfect, of course, we need to use auxiliary have, and we also need to conjugate our verb into the participle form. If you check, the verbs that are underlined are in participle form. And it's important that we practice and that we remember the participle forms of our verbs, especially irregular verbs, because we know that the participle forms change. So that's it with the present perfect. So an activity that occurred in the past or started in the past and it's relevant now or continues up to the present, right? That's how we use the present perfect tense. So let's check what is the difference then between the present perfect simple and when we're going to use the present perfect continuous. So I have a couple of sentences here and I want you to decide which sentence you think sounds better and try to understand your choice. Apparently both sentences are the same and both sentences are correct. Yep, both sentences are correct, but they are not entirely or completely the same. So take a look at the sentences, try to decide which one is the best option. You did it? Great. Okay. So let's check. I have studied English for 4 years and I have been studying English for 4 years. I have read 20 books and I have been reading 20 books. We have painted the house since 9 in the morning and we have been painting the house since 9 in the morning. I have painted 6 rooms and I have been painting 6 rooms. Now, both options are totally correct. You can decide any of them, but let's understand why one of them sounds better than the other. If I had to choose for the first 2 options, I would choose the second option. I have been studying English for 4 years. In the letters A and B, I would choose A. I have read 20 books. With numbers 1 and 2, I would choose we have been painting the house since 9 in the morning. And for the last couple of sentences, I would choose I have painted 6 rooms. You can see that on both options, we have one in present perfect simple and the other one is in present perfect continuous. And sometimes we prefer the present perfect simple and sometimes we prefer the present perfect continuous. Why is that? So let's try to remember first that the present perfect simple expresses a completed, probably recent action that is visible or affects the present. Sometimes it expresses an experience, but there is not really an emphasis on time, right? So in present perfect simple, time is not really important. We just mention the activity or we just mention the experience, and that's it. We assume that it occurred in the past and it's relevant now, but we don't mention any time. Check the examples. I've painted the kitchen and now I'm doing the bathroom. When did the person start? How long has the person been doing the activity? It's not mentioned in the sentence, right? Because it's not really important. I've cut my finger. I've been to Mexico City 4 times. In this last sentence, apparently we're talking about the time, right? But we are actually talking about the quantity or how many times the event occurred, not specifically how long or when. The person never mentions when the person visited the city, just mentions how many times, right? So for present perfect simple, we don't really care about how long or the duration of the activity, right? Time. But for present perfect continuous, because it indicates an activity that began in the past and continued for a period of time up to the present, the sentence indicates progress, right? So this structure emphasizes the time of the event or the activity. Check the examples. I've been studying English since 2020. I've been living in Merida for the last 3 weeks. I've been working all day. In the 3 examples, we are using the continuous form and we are also indicating how long or when the activity started, right? So, what can we say? We can say that present perfect simple and continuous are pretty similar, but there is a difference between the two of them. Present perfect simple emphasizes more quantity, probably, or just the event, not really time. So if time is not important in your sentence, you should prefer present perfect simple. But if time is important to be mentioned in the sentence, if you need to specify when the activity occurred or how long has the activity been happening, you prefer the continuous form, right? So sometimes there is no difference between the simple and the continuous. Check the example. I've played the piano since I was a boy, and I've been playing the piano since I was a boy. Both sentences are correct, and there is actually no difference. But the main difference, if we want to be clear with the structure, is that the continuous form expresses duration or time, and the simple form expresses or emphasizes quantity. Check the examples. I've been reading all day. Continuous form. Time is important. When or how long? All day. Now, I've read 10 chapters. In this second sentence, time is not important, but the event is important, and also probably quantity, how many. So 10 chapters, right? I've been learning English for 3 years. Again, we're using the continuous form and we're emphasizing how long, for 3 years, right? And in the second part of the sentence, it says, I've had 2 teachers in total. We're not emphasizing how long or when, but we're emphasizing the quantity or the event itself. And that is the reason why here we prefer one over the other. If you check the sentences again, you can see that in the first pair of sentences, what is more important is time, right? In the second, it's not time, but quantity. In the third pair of sentences, Again, it's time that it's important, and that's why we emphasize or we use the continuous form. We have been painting the house since 9 in the morning. And in the last pair of sentences, time is not important, right? It's not mentioned in the sentence, so we don't need to use the continuous form. We prefer the simple form, right? So that would be the difference between the simple and the continuous form in terms of present perfect. Now, how can we talk about time when we use the present perfect continuous? There are two words that are important to talk about time, and we have for and since. Yeah. So remember that we use for to talk about periods of time, and there are certain expressions that we can use with for, like for 2 days, for 3 hours, for a week, for 10 seconds, for 5 years, 7 days, a long time, for 5 months, etc. So for indicates the period of time that an activity has been occurring. Yeah. So I've been studying English for 2 months. There is another word, and that word is since. Careful with the pronunciation, it's since. And since do not indicate period of time. Since indicates exactly when the activity started in the past. Okay, so it mentions or indicates the beginning of a period with a precise moment in time. Yeah, so we combine since with specific phrases or words that indicate times. For example, since Tuesday, since 9 o'clock, since Christmas, since March, since 1990, since I arrived, since Halloween, etc. So I can also say I've been studying English for 2 years, and I've been studying English since 2020, right? So those two words are important when we talk about time, especially in present perfect continuous. Now you know the difference between the present perfect simple and also the present perfect continuous. Remember that in the present perfect continuous, we need to put the verb in ing, so we are indicating progression or the continuous form. And both structures, because they are present perfect, they need verb to have or auxiliary to have. We need to conjugate have with the subject. Sometimes we need to use has. And for present perfect simple, we need to use the participle form. And for present perfect continuous, we use the participle form with verb to be, been, and then we put the verb in ing. We're going to be studying this next session. I hope this video is helpful for you. Thank you very much and have a lovely day.